Welcome to Office Hours. I am Steve Drost. With me, as always, Will Kaplan. Of course, Will and I both from the Quiver CRM team. What is Quiver? We are the CRM built by financial advisors for financial advisors, and our objective is simple. We are here to help you run your business at peak efficiency. And each episode, we tackle a couple of cool items that came directly from our users who are trying to do just that, be just a little bit more efficient, and honestly, make their lives a little bit easier. Will, I'm a control freak. Is that fair?
Is that the nice way of saying it, Steve? Let's you like things done in a particular way.
Well, I don't know. I actually think I'm getting better at that. I want the outcome and the experience to be a specific way. I don't always care how you get there, but I know what I want in my planning firm. I know what my end user experience I want it to be like. Sorry, unless you can tell me a better way, and I will listen. It's how it's going to be done. And because of that, there are certain situations that I maybe struggle in, or I traditionally wasn't the most efficient person in. And those were maybe when I wasn't in control. So for example, helping a client get an estate plan. Let's say you're working with a high net worth client who has young kids, they own businesses and rental properties. Well, they're probably going to need a trust or something like that. Hypothetically, again, not giving financial advice or anything here, but probably. Regardless, I need to get them introduced to an attorney. And once I make that introduction, I'm not in control. I'm now at the whim of the client and the attorney working through that process. And we've all been there. Sometimes it's done in a couple of months, but more often than not, I mean, if you set the over under on how long that's going to take, you set it at 6 months, I'm taking the over every single
And it's
time.
always longer,
We're out of
always
control. And,
longer.
and, and you were sharing an example earlier today about kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? So maybe not only is it hard when we're out of control, but it's also hard of like, what do we need? Like we have things that we need to do, but we need specific data to do it, right? So the whole theme, and I want you to elaborate on that, is everything that we're doing for our clients, we kind of have two information sets. We have the data that we need to accomplish something, and then we have the activity that needs to be done in order to accomplish that. So if we were to go back to my estate planning example, the data that I need for the estate plan is all of the analysis done on the front end to determine what route we go. Are we going to go to a trust and will or an online provider? Are we going to go to this attorney because they specialize with this, right? All of that analysis that we did. And I want that documented somewhere. And then I need to document when I made the introduction, how to follow up all that. And now we're getting to the activity based stuff, right? I want to check in every 2 weeks until it's done. I want to call the attorney every month to see what the heck is going on. Is it my client or is it you? What's going on, right? And then you were sharing an example too about like QCDs about, right? How do we handle that? I want you to share that.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think this touches on a lot of them, whether it's like a QCD or a move money or really any of these things, is like there is the process of what needs to be done. I need to get the data from the client, find out what they want to give, who do they want to give it to. I need to know, is that a real, like, is that charity actually a thing? Do they have an address? Like, because I have to process it, I want to process it directly with the custodian. I'm not wild about the checkbook thing, even though a lot of clients like them. But this idea of like, I need to be able to fill out a form that goes to the custodian. And there are certain things that if they aren't on that form, custodian's going to kick it back to me. And I don't want to go back to the client. Like to your point about, I want the experience to be a certain way. That really resonates with me too. Like I want to try and get it right the first time as often as I possibly can. And so having the process of like, oh, I reach out to the client or the client reaches out to me, I get this request. What do I need to move forward? And so it's this chicken and we do get into this chicken and the egg thing is like, what pushes it? Like, is it I've got all the data that I need, or I need to go out and get the data in order to get to the next phase? And so really what we're trying to do, and I think where this really comes down to is in Quiver, we're trying to give you as much place to put, here's a place to hold your data. And then here's what to do once you have the data or what you need to do in order to get the data. And when you combine those two things together, whether it's like a Roth conversion, RMD, QCD, move money, like any of these things, estate planning project, mortgage project, tax planning project. It's the combination of those two things together, the workflow of what do I need to do and the record itself of where do I store all the information about this.
Yeah. And where the estate plan came from for this conversation, this is a decision I made years ago. Well, I was speaking with a user and they have this, I mean, on paper, this very beautiful estate plan workflow. Very beautiful. Tons of steps. Everything's going to get in there. I'm like, man, this is great. Except the problem with an estate plan or walking a client through an estate plan, at least in my experience, is it never goes the same way twice. Sometimes the client does everything right away. Sometimes they drag their feet a little bit. Sometimes we have to have an extra meeting. It just never goes the same way because again, it's a very personal and also process that's outside of our control. So we were talking about it because he's like, I built this workflow, but I don't use it anymore because it's not applicable and it doesn't follow it. So he just wasn't doing it. And he didn't know how he was tracking estate plans. He was using then, of course, we all revert to our level of comfort, which is Microsoft Word, and then the workflow that helps ensure that we stay on course. So in this individual's example, they looked at the estate plan project. That's where they're going to document all their notes. They're going to get out of Word, out of Google Docs, whatever they were using. And their estate plan workflow, I think, was 4 steps: analysis, introduction to attorney, monitor signing, implementation. 4 steps. And of course, implementation will spawn additional ones like the workflow for retitling accounts, things like that. But it's 4 steps. And they are super, super simple. And truthfully, the monitor signing is probably the most important one, and that's something he's just gonna keep kicking forward every couple of weeks, whatever his cadence for checking in is, and he's
Got to
got
get it
that.
done.
And then he gets that task on his homepage, and right from that task, he sees the estate plan project, and he just sees every single thing that he's done. Every time he's checked in, why that introduced to this attorney, questions the attorney had, actions associated to it that are one-off, right? The attorney needed this information, and you had your admin send them that information, right? Everything is living on that one manila envelope inside a Quiver. You have this workflow just reminding you, hey, got to take action. Hey, got to take action. Hey, got to take action.
Steve, and really closely related to that too is I mean, I'm going to pivot from the estate plan, but I'm still going to stick with projects, mortgage projects, right? How easy would it be for me to just dump into a text field? It's a 30-year mortgage and this is the rate. Where I don't even know where we are right now,
High five.
January of yeah, 2026, like let's say, 5.5, 6%, something like that. Maybe I'm being optimistic. But like it's so easy for me to just drop that into a text field or leave it in an email or keep it as a note. Where that starts to fall down, though, is 3, 4, 5 years from now, where rates are different than they are. And I want to say, show me all of my clients that are above this value in terms of their rate, that are now rates have dropped down to, let's say 3% again, and it's refinance season. And I want to be able to reach out proactively to my clients and say, hey, I can really provide a lot of value here. We could refinance this mortgage to save you a tremendous amount of money. That's not going to happen if it's in a text field. There's just no way. And so that's where I know the process. I've got to, reach out to the client, see if they're willing to meet with a mortgage broker, talk to them about why they want to do it, show them some analysis maybe in my planning tool about how it's going to save them hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it's going to be. My process could be phenomenal. But if I don't have the data, I'm stuck.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, and maybe even get into more repetitive or more common business functions, QCDs, right? Hey, mom, right? Client calls or whatever. We're gonna send $5,000 to John Hopkins University. Well, get off the phone, and my mom's gonna say, "Oh, dang it, I need like these 17 data points." Well, if we already did it, we have a QCD hub inside a Quiver. She can go to that. Oh, yeah, we're gonna do the same thing. This is the IRA account. This is the address. This is my contact. This is how I do it. I don't need to talk to Steve anymore. I don't have to go back to that, right? I would argue that efficiency is kind of like electronics. If you plug a video game system from 1997 into a 8K television and it has the red, yellow, white little cords, right? You're not going to get the 8K experience. In fact, you're going to have a terrible experience with that video game because it's going to be so pixelated because your N64 can't handle that. And that's communication. If your communication is inferior relative to your written workflows, written processes and procedures, you're not getting them the information that they need, then your workflows, I would argue, they're not helping you a lot, right? Like you're just not, because you need the data in order to do the activity. But
It goes round and round. Like it's such a funny thing. And we see it with small firms, you see it with big firms. There's always this of like, I don't want to put that, like, I don't want to take that extra minute to go put that data there, or, yeah, I don't think I'm really going to need it. And yeah, it feels great right now to skip over that, but you're going to end up making yourself more work in the long run. And when you go back to these things and look at like, hey, how do I do this? To your point about like, how do I duplicate this QCD? Or, I've already got this data. I just need to kind of do it again. Future you will be so thankful if you take those couple extra minutes just to kind of close that loop of good data and good workflow.
happy you said future me or future you, right? Because that is my deciding factor. I'm not going to put a piece of information into the system if there's a 0% chance I'm ever going to need it again. I'm not going to. Keys,
Just a waste of time. Yeah.
QCDs, I'm going to need that information again, or it's highly likely, highly probable. So the last step in our workflow is for my mother to add the QCD into the system or make sure it's in the system, confirm it's all in there. That way, next year when it inevitably comes up, we don't have that information gap. It's all about the information gap. Help myself, help future me. And honestly, your team likes it too because your team doesn't want to ask you questions. If you're the advisor, they don't want to ask you questions. They want to get the stuff that they need to do and they just want to do it, right? They just do. And it's the same. Like, I don't want to get asked questions by my mom. Like, I just don't. And if she's asking the same questions over and over again, either I need to train better, but more likely it's I'm not just giving her what she needs. I'll make that field required or I'll do something different so that way I don't have to, I don't know, answer questions because I don't wanna do that. I like to talk to my mom, but I'd rather talk to her about when we're getting together to hang out rather than that. But no, but that's a wrap. Good stuff as always. If you are a Quiver user, remember, join us on Wednesdays for office hours where we talk about, yes, the blocking and the tackling of the system, the creating the fields, the creating of the projects, the creating of the workflows in office hours. But we also handle a lot of philosophical items. Hey, a common question we'll get is, hey, I'm trying to work through this estate planning workflow, but it's just not working. Okay, well, show me your estate plan workflow. You might want to think about paring that down from 27 tasks down to 4 and then using the project to hold your data and keep you organized, right? So things like that we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you solutions, give you ideas. If you're not a Quiver user, that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, but remember, it's not too late. Come schedule a demo, come hang out with me, come hang out with Will, and see what Quiver can do for you and also for your practice.